Use code 8th Place Dave to save 5% on your order at Face to Face Games, Canada's largest Magic the Gathering store. Support the channel and visit facetofacegames.com today. So I wanted to make this video discussing something that I saw on the Magic the Gathering Reddit recently, because when I saw this thread, my jaw kind of dropped a bit. What you can see here is a card that I used in one of my old comedy videos. I got this card wet in that video, and as you can see, it's pretty much wrecked. This thread that I saw, though, was essentially this happened to someone, however, in a much larger way. And I feel like this is something that a lot of Magic players would kind of have nightmares about. So essentially, what happened was someone's entire Kalia of the Vast commander deck, which looks to be pretty much completely blinged out, got essentially destroyed by the rain. And this deck was worth about $10,000. So I'm going to show you some pictures now that were posted to this thread. And this was posted by Redditor Rose of Thorns. And I actually reached out to them just to make sure that I get the details of this story right, and also to make sure it's okay to use these images in my video here. So I want to make sure that they get the proper credit. You can find them on Twitter at Card Garden MTG, and they're affiliated with the TOA Magic Store. I'll put those links in the video description. So as you can see here, this deck is ruined, and it is a very expensive commander deck. So it makes you wonder, how did this happen? So I guess this was at SCG Con Dallas, and basically what happened was there was someone there who had this deck. It was single sleeved inside of a deck box, and they had left it in the back of their truck, and the back of the truck had a covering on it that was supposed to be waterproof. But apparently there was quite the rainstorm, and well, this happened to the deck. So then I guess what happened was the person who owned these cards took them and sold them to someone at the event. I believe they got about $2,500 for it. I'm not 100% sure on that number. But then the person that they sold it to brought it to this Redditor who posted this thread, who was buying cards for the TOA Magic Store, and sold it to this store for $3,500. So I guess the person that sold it to the store probably made out all right, making a decent profit on this, but, the person who owned these cards originally, go down from 10,000, probably 10,000 plus, because you can see there are a lot of valuable cards here. You can't see what all of them are, but I have to assume that the ones that are face down probably are also quite valuable as well. That person went to this event bringing their deck, which I'm sure they put a lot of hard work and love into, and it gets destroyed, and they end up leaving with essentially a quarter of what it's worth. But there are a lot of things in this story that kind of make you ask why? Like, why were these decisions made? All of these things that allowed this to happen. And I want to say now that I don't want to be just trashing this person and saying like, oh, what an idiot for making all these decisions, because like, we see what happened to them. They obviously know that they made some bad decisions leading up to this, and they've got to deal with the consequences of it now. So yes, obviously now, looking back on it, they would see the things that went wrong in order for this to happen. But let's just go over them. So first of all, there is bringing this deck to an event. I mean, as I said, you can't really fault someone for that, because that's what the cards are for, is to bring to play with. However, if there's a deck that's this valuable and has, so many of the fancy versions of cards in it, why would it only be single-sleeved? I mean, I have some fairly expensive decks, not anything like this, but even if I have a deck that's worth, $500 or something, I'll double sleeve it, and that alone is something that could have prevented this. I did a video a little while ago actually testing out how effective is double sleeving in terms of protecting cards from water damage, and it was quite surprisingly effective. If the card is double sleeved with good sleeves, which you can buy from Dragon Shield, it can actually be fully submerged in water for an extended period of time and come out with 0 water damage. So that could have prevented this. Also, apparently these were inside of a deck box. Once again, with a deck this expensive, the type of deck box that you put it in matters as well, because there are deck boxes that are more strong than others, and ones that are also watertight. And that's also something that I like to do, is take my deck, which is double sleeved, I'll put it into a deck box that I know has a better chance of protecting it if something were to happen to it. But then also, why was this deck left inside of a truck? You see so many stories about people getting their things stolen out of their car or truck or whatever. It's almost become a joke at this point when, you see a post on Reddit saying my collection or whatever got stolen out of my car. The first reply is don't leave cards in your car. And I understand sometimes you might have to, or maybe you're just leaving it there for a couple minutes or whatever. Sure, that's fine. But it wasn't just left inside the truck. It was left in the back of the truck, which was essentially exposed to the elements. Yes, the back of the truck had a covering on it, which was supposed to be waterproof, but clearly water got in anyway. So all of these things, when you put them together, that's what allowed this to happen, and for this deck to basically get destroyed. And as I said, the person that this happened to, they know this already. You know, they obviously know that these were bad decisions. But yeah, that's what happened with this. Let's take a look at some of these cards now, though, because they're pretty expensive cards, and some of them are quite rare and fancy. So up in the top left there, it looks like a revised Badlands. That's got to be a few $100s. Probably not anymore. A lot of these are foil as well. I see what looks like a foil Darksteel, Sword of Fire and Ice. That would have been more than $100 at the start of the day. I think that's a Judge foil, Imperial Seal. Imperial Seal did just get reprinted, but the Judge foil is still sitting at around $500. There's the Ultimate Box Topper, Cavern of Souls there. That's a couple $100, something like that. There's a Mox Diamond. That's a big one. That's a few $100s. A Demonic Tutor. It looks like that's just a revised Demonic Tutor, though. I don't know. That doesn't look like unlimited, so that does suck, but compared to some of these other cards, that one's not that big of a loss. We got some Kaladesh Inventions. There's Chromox, Chromatic Lantern, and Defense Grid. Chromox is a pretty big one. Chromatic Lantern, I actually just recently got one of those for myself, so I know that one is, worth a fair bit. There's the Ultimate Box Topper Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. The Bloodstained Mire, the Expedition one there, that you can see that one is really damaged. There's a revised Wheel of Fortune. That one actually doesn't look so bad. So these cards are all damaged. I believe they would all have to be sold listed as damaged condition, but you can see the damage does vary. Some of them are basically destroyed. Some of them, maybe they probably just have some of like the rippling and warping from having been wet. But you probably could still play with some of them. There's a revised Scrubland there. I have to imagine that there probably also is a revised Plateau somewhere in here, because if there's the two of them there's probably the third one as well. There's a foil box topper style Mox Opal from Double Masters. You got the foil box topper style Kalia of the Vast. A couple more Expedition lands there. An old school foil Dark Ritual. That card I'm sure is not cheap. You can see some really big ones down at the bottom there. There's the foil extended art Jeweled Lotus. That card is, if it was in near mint condition, it would still be at least $1,000. There's a promo City of Brass there. That card is a few $100s. There's the Invention style Soul Ring. That card is $1,000 plus. And also the Invention style Sword of Feast and Famine. And then there's a whole bunch of face down cards here, so you can't see all of them. And so they say this deck is a $10,000 deck, but honestly, I feel like it might even be more valuable, that assuming that the rest of the cards are also super fancy versions of every card that will be played in the Kalia deck. You can also see some more images of the cards from a different kind of view, so you can see that the level of the damage does vary quite a bit. It kind of looks like the person just opened a foil land pack out of a brand new bundle here. And regarding what's going to happen to these cards now, apparently the store is going to piece out the deck and sell it via their various social media accounts, because these cards are wrecked, but there is actually still demand for these. There is a market for damaged cards, and I'm sure that they'll be able to make a profit. They know what they're doing, obviously, and they wouldn't have bought this deck if it was going to be worthless. So they'll be able to make use of these cards. So yes, I'm sure the person that this happened to is not going to make the same mistake again, and this can serve as a warning to people that might not have been aware of, things like this happening in ways that they can prevent it from happening. Don't leave cards in your car. Don't leave them exposed to the elements. If they're expensive, double sleeve them. And also, once again, if they're expensive, probably you want to be using a pretty good deck box that's going to protect it well. So once again, this was posted by Card Garden MTG, and you can check them out on Twitter. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about, because seeing this thread, that was quite a shocking image to see for a Magic player, seeing these cards, such a fancy deck essentially destroyed like this. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd be interested to read your perspective on this. But if you're still watching though, thanks for watching. It'd be cool if you can like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. I'd encourage everyone to come join my Discord server. You can find a link to that in the video description below. And in the video description, you can also find my affiliate links for Dragon Shield in case you'd like to purchase some gaming supplies. You can follow those affiliate links and help out the channel while you do so. Maybe buy some sleeves which do actually protect your cards from water, which I discovered after testing it for myself. And also, I'd just like to take a moment to thank all of the patrons who support me on Patreon. But otherwise though, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.